Rosa Maria from LCC, who is going to be talking about the Lane Foundation Scholarship application. And you guys, just as a reminder to keep yourself muted. However, if you do have a question at any point, you can unmute yourself and ask. You can also add questions into the comment to the chat section above. And we will ask that on your behalf if you don't want to ask yourself. And with that, I am going to turn it over to Rosa Maria.
Rolina, do you want to introduce yourself first also?
There I am. I'm Mrs. Miller from Springfield High School. I'm in the Career Center. For those that I've worked with, it's nice to see you guys here. And for those that haven't caught up with me, please do so at your convenience so that we can get you started on any avenue that you need help with. That's what I'm here for.
Awesome. All right, everybody. Welcome. Good morning to all of you. Hopefully you're having a great morning so far. That's awesome that you don't have school today on Wednesdays. So maybe, you woke up a little bit late today. So as Jessica and Rolina mentioned, the focus of today is going to be talking about and going over the application process for our Lane Community College Foundation Scholarship. The application is not live right now. It will be live on, I believe, either the 2nd or 3rd of January. But I'll show you where to find, all the appropriate information that you will need. There are things that you can do right now in advance in preparation for when the application becomes available. Not only for our foundation scholarship, but also for all other scholarships like OSAC and any other ones that you're considering applying for. If we have time, towards the end, we can also talk about other kind of scholarship opportunities. But, I'm going to spend some time really kind of diving in with our foundation scholarship application. So I think all of you should be able to see my screen. I should be in the Lane Community College homepage right now. I think we were testing it earlier, and you should be able to see that. If not, let me know. But this is what you should be able to see. So this is our homepage, lanecc.edu. And to get to our foundation scholarship webpage, from the homepage, you're going to click where it says here foundation. And it's going to take you to the foundation webpage. And then over on their menu here on the left, you're going to click where it says scholarships and scholarship opportunities. So we are now on basically the information where it shows anything related to the foundation scholarship. So I like that they have a step-by-step in terms of what you need to do to apply for the scholarship and eventually getting it submitted. I know it's really helpful to me, especially as I'm trying to navigate this and making sure that I'm, completing everything that I'm asked to complete for the application. So we're just going to go a step at a time, clarify some of those things so that you are able to, have a clear understanding of what you need to do on your end. When the application becomes live, this orange button that you see here, this will indicate, there's going to be an indicator here that will say the application is open. Again, usually we post it either the 2nd or 3rd of January. It's usually after the holiday. So you'll see it then. So we're just going to go back here to step 1. They also have a step-by-step instruction of the application. I don't recommend you necessarily print this, but maybe saving it to your desktop so you can have that handy as you're also navigating the process, and then maybe having like a tab open on the side as you're working on the application. I do like that they've already put it here, included when the application will be due. So for this coming year, it will be due on March 2nd 2021 at 11:59 p.m. Not 12 a.m., 11:59 p.m. This is very important, and this is why folks like Jessica and Rolina do these kinds of workshops, because it is important that you get all this stuff done in advance. You do not want to be submitting this application, a few minutes before the deadline on March 2nd, because what ends up happening is that sometimes the systems crash. And if we see a lot of traffic where students are, having to submit documentations and stuff. So make sure you are working on this in advance if possible and get it in before that March 2nd deadline.
Can I add one thing to that, Rosa Maria?
Yeah.
With the deadline, students, keep in mind that we are only working till 4 p.m. So even though that deadline is 11:59, you will only have us available to you till 4 p.m. that day. And given that we are virtual, we don't know right now if we're going to be going back in February or not. It's really important that you start working on these ahead of time so that we are there to support you and help you with that. There are a lot of hiccups that can happen just with technology and things like that. But so kind of plan this out. And like Rosa Maria said, don't wait till the last minute because we want to be able to help you. But also the people at Lane Foundation, if you call them, they're getting a lot of calls as well. So I can't stress that piece of it enough to start working on it early, get that support because we're here and we want to help you.
Yeah, thanks, Jessica. All right, so we're going to move on to the next piece of it. So there are, specific computer requirements that you want to have to make sure that the application, you're able to submit it. Most computers have, these requirements already, so it's not like anything. You don't have to buy anything. You don't have to download anything. Just make sure you have, your web browsers updated and you're using any of these that are listed here. Important, the essay questions, which I'll talk about in a little bit. The essay questions, I would recommend that because the application is not live yet, that you save the essay questions on a separate like Google Doc and start drafting those essay questions and have them ready. And people like Jessica, Rolina, I'm sure are available to look at those draft essay questions and give you some feedback, or maybe another, a teacher or a counselor or an adult in your household. So those are kind of one of the areas where especially it's important to start in advance, because it's going to take you some time to kind of, draft those and making sure that you're happy with the responses and stuff and that they're looked over. So before you start the application, all students must apply for admissions. You must be admitted to Lane. I know many of you at Springfield or Thurston, you have an L number because you have taken College Now courses, and that's fine. But you want to make sure it is required that you apply for regular admissions to Lane in order to basically fill out our application. So by submitting our admissions application like a regular student, you will have the same L number. Your L number should not change. If it does, you got to let us know right away, because that shouldn't happen. But it does happen on occasion. And if it does, we want to make sure we fix it right away so that you don't have two L numbers. But again, your L number should remain the same, but this is really the first thing you need to do. So for those of you who have not applied for admissions to Lane, this is the thing that you want to get started on right away. It takes us about 1 to 3 business days for us to process an application. Usually we get it done within 24 hours. But when you apply for admissions, on the day we process your application, you're going to get 2 sets of emails from us. One email is going to include the same L number that you've been using if you have one as a College Now student. And the second email will have your MyLane temporary password and next steps. And really the only next step that you need to be concerned about at the moment is not only accessing your, making sure you're able to log into your MyLane student portal, but also claiming your Lane email address, because your Lane email address is what you're going to be using to basically log in to the account to basically fill out these scholarship applications. So make sure you do that. And it's listed here under these instructions. Make sure you write down that Lane email address, because I know a lot of students, you know, they'll claim it, they'll activate it, but then they don't write it down anywhere, and so they don't remember what it is. The password to your email account for Lane is going to be the same password that you're going to be using for your MyLane student portal. So we're not going to ask you to do, you know, to set up 2 different passwords. It's going to be the same. So make sure you know, create something that you're going to be able to remember, as far as like, you know, logging into your portal, but also logging in to the portal that we use for the scholarship application. So hopefully that makes sense. Again, you're going to be receiving those set of emails from us, so make sure you check it. One thing that's very important, and I stress this a lot, and I'm sure Rowena and Jessica also do this a lot, whenever you're working on a scholarship application, you're working on a you know, admissions application, anything related to college, do not use your school email that Springfield or Thurston has issued you. Please use a personal email. And the reason I say this is because it happens a lot where students are, you know, when you're getting ready to graduate, your school will shut down that email. And if you know, colleges and universities are sending you things through that high school email, it's going to be blocked. They're not going to receive it, and they're not going to know how to contact you. So make sure you always use a personal email. If you don't have one, create one before you get started on all these applications for scholarships and anything else like FAFSA or you know, admissions applications. The other thing you're going to want to have, you're going to be required to update, is copies of an unofficial school transcript. Okay. So I think I heard Jessica say that you guys use Naviance. So I don't know if you as a student, you know, have the ability to quickly download a high school transcript or not. But if you don't, as Jessica said, you know, staff are only working till 4 p.m. So given that we have a break coming up, you want to make sure you ask for that in advance so that you have that ready to go on, you know, when you're applying for the scholarship application. I think somebody wanted to say something.
For Springfield, they'll just contact me and I'll get the transcript out to them.
Okay. So if you're a Springfield student, go ahead, Jessica.
And for Thurston, you just have to fill out the transcript request form. Just so everybody knows, our transcripts are audited before they go out by our registrar, just to make sure with everything in the pandemic and credits are updated correctly. And so that will be updated, and then they can send it directly to the school, PDF or whatever. All the options are in that form.
Mm-hmm. And just a reminder, we're asking for an unofficial transcript, okay? Not an official one. So if you have, you know, one that you can get from Rowena or Jessica or your registrar electronic, that's unofficial, you know, again, save it somewhere so that you know where to find it when you're getting ready to submit it as part of your application packet, okay? Academic plans, part of the application, you're going to be asked for, you know, what is your major? What is your intended program of study at Lane? As a, you know, 17, 18-year-old, maybe a lot of you already know what you're planning to study. Maybe some of you are still kind of keeping your options open. I would say that this is not something that, you know, is, they're very kind of, they're not really strict about this. Choose the best option for you at this moment. If your major changes, that's fine. We just want to make sure that you at least choose something, whether that would be a transfer degree, whether that would be any of our certificates or 2-year degrees. Just choose the best option for you at the moment when you're submitting the application. And then for the essay questions, you can see here there are 6 essay questions listed that are going to be required as part of the application process. Each question is unique, and essay's responses should not be repeated. Each essay question requires 170 words, which is like a paragraph, a couple sentences. So it's not much, you know, you don't have to write a whole page for each question. My advice to you is that you really answer the question. You get to the point. You're very direct because you don't have that much, you don't have, they want you to do 170 words, so that's not very much for you to, put in the information that you need. This is the piece, like I mentioned earlier, that you can get started on right away, especially since you have a break coming up. As with anything, I would say spend maybe an hour to 2 hours a day working on these and anything else related to, scholarships and stuff. Don't try to do it all at once. If you can, that's fine. Just to give yourself, kind of split the things that you need to complete so that you don't feel overwhelmed with getting everything done on the same day. But these questions are there. You should be able to access them and, again, work on your responses. Like I said earlier, it is very important that you have someone look at your draft essay questions before you submit the application, just in case there's some grammatical errors or maybe, maybe some feedback in terms of things you could be adding or things you could take away and all that. So keep that in mind. I know for many of our scholarships, we don't require a recommendation letter, but if you are applying for other scholarships outside of Lane Foundation where they do require a recommendation letter, that's another thing that you want to ask people like Rolina, Jessica, a teacher, a counselor, a coach, way in advance, a couple weeks, so that they have enough time to complete a recommendation letter. You don't want to give it to them or make that request a week before it's due. Definitely keep that in mind because people are busy and people have other things to do. And so it is important that you be mindful of that. For the FAFSA, we also, there are some scholarships that do require you to have a FAFSA completed. And again, you might have already, heard about the FAFSA, maybe participated in workshops and stuff. If you haven't filled it out, there's still time to fill it out. You're going to want to submit the 2021-2022 FAFSA using 2019 tax information. For students who are undocumented or DACA recipients, there is an alternative to the FAFSA, and that is the ORSA, ORSAA, and you can go to the OSAC webpage to access the ORSA. So you want to submit one or the other. So the FAFSA is for U.S. citizens and permanent resident aliens, and the ORSA is for undocumented students and DACA recipients. So there's options there for folks to submit that. Any questions so far before we continue on? Okay. So again, other recommendations they have listed here is applying early, notify. You will be notified via your Lane email that you will access, that will issue you whether you've been notified for a scholarship. You will be notified sometime in May, and results will be available on our webpage sometime in mid-June. So you'll know, kind of towards the end of your school year, maybe earlier, whether you have received a scholarship or not from Lane, and then what the amount is as well. So when the application becomes live, you'll want to create an account. All of you have not created an account, so that's what you're going to be doing. And so you'll be using your Lane issued email ending with this. So it's usually the last name, your last name and the first letter of your name, and then the rest of this address as the username, and then you decide what you want as the password in order to basically create an account to start working on the application. These are kind of additional information to keep in mind. So general application questions, information around your major certification, which you're going to be pursuing at Lane. There will be questions around your high school information, which some of them will be captured through that unofficial transcript that you're going to be submitting to Lane. College transcripts, I believe so as College Now students, you may not have to submit Lane's unofficial transcript. If you receive College Now credit, I'll have to confirm that with our foundation office. But if you do, you can access your unofficial transcripts. You might want to wait. If you have grades already submitted, you can already, kind of take a screenshot of those. I can, if you email me privately, I can also get that information for you or show you where to find it. But if there are grades that are pending, classes that are pending right now, then, you won't submit those till later on, after the deadline, if they want you to submit those as well. But usually if it's the college credit, if you have college credit that it's late, usually they don't make you submit that college transcript because we have that in the system. But your high school one is definitely a requirement. So student status at Lane in the fall. So all of you will be first-year students, which is a question in the application. Again, all of that is listed here in the instructions, so make sure you follow this guide and stuff. There's also more information around the file format for the transcript. I'm not going to, go into detail about this, but you want to make sure to definitely get it as a PDF format. If your high school is able to provide that, great. If not, see if you have the ability to change it to a PDF format from your end in order to make sure that you submit it correctly. And again, here's more information about the academic history. If you submit an incomplete application, I don't believe that you're going to get anything from our foundation office where they indicate that your application is incomplete. So it's very important that you look at this guide to make sure that you are submitting everything that you need to submit, especially those high school transcripts or GED information, or students who are homeschooled, that you get all that in and you have copies of all of that. This, how to request copies, sounds like you guys already know how to do that. Rolina and Jessica are going to be your point people to get that information from, the high school and making sure you get the copies of that. So looks like they have a lot of information here about the transcripts. So this page, starting here on this page, one of the things you have to remember about the scholarship application is very similar, like the OSAC. If you've already started working on that, I'm not sure if it's live. I think it's already live or will be live soon. But you're basically filling out one application and you're being considered for multiple scholarships. But you're only submitting one application. And you could, depending on how you answer some of the initial questions, then that will generate what other scholarships the college recommends that you apply based on the information from those survey results. So this page here, your application will look like this, where there will be other recommended opportunities. And what you'll end up doing is you can select on the linkable, learn a little bit about the scholarship. If you want to apply for it, then you want to click on these action items where it says apply. Some scholarships require, like the donor will say, well, I have this essay question that I want more information from the student. Usually very, very direct as well, like 170 words. But you'll see a list, here from your end where it shows you other scholarship opportunities that you are recommended to apply as well. But if you don't click on this apply button, you won't be considered for those. So it's very important that you select on that apply as you see the information that comes from the initial survey results that you're, from the questions that you're responding to. And then this list here, it shows you basically kind of the different majors and academic programs we offer in case you're not really sure what to select. But most students have an idea, or at least, have a program in mind in terms of what they're going to be majoring in. So you're welcome to look at this list on your end just to kind of figure out which one to choose, but usually students will have an idea. So that's pretty much the the guide in terms of the instructions on how to submit the application. Again, as I mentioned in the initial conversation about this, is to download this document and save it somewhere in your desktop so that you can reference the instructions and stuff. Again, it's going to be here. It's not going to go away. So you should be able to see it there as well. Also the steps that I just went over, they have them here again in terms of, the step-by-step. You can also view the essay questions from here. So if you click on this link here, and you should see the essay questions from this end as well. So there's multiple ways. Other than that, like I said, you want to make sure that you go back to this page and then, kind of look and see when it will be available. Like I said, it will be available sometime in January 2nd or 3rd, or that first week of January. Any questions? Anything I may, Jessica, Carolina, that you think would be worthwhile me mentioning, that you think I might have forgot?
So I wrote down a couple of questions. So while you guys are thinking of your questions or gathering those questions, maybe I can just ask a couple. So this is actually a question that was asked to me by a student, and I thought it was a really good question. So others may not even be thinking about this, but with this application for LCC scholarships, is this something that they would apply again next year for scholarships as well? Or is this just for this year? Obviously, like as seniors in high school, a lot of scholarships that we have in the school are just for this year. Is LCC for both the 2 years?
You want to apply for it every year.
Yep.
But it is very, very likely that if you get awarded a scholarship your first year, coming into your freshman year, it's very likely that if you submit the application your second year, you're going to get the same scholarship again. They usually are very good about that. If a student reapplies and is doing really well in school, they'll usually say, "Oh, we're going to continue to give that scholarship to the student." Yeah. But yeah, you want to submit the application, every year.
Yeah, I think that's important just for them to hear, because I think a lot of times they think, okay, I just do all this work 1 year and then that's it. But there are scholarship opportunities after you move on and into your higher education. The other thing, oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, there are scholarships, big ones like the Ford Foundation. It's one that you don't have to apply every year. Like if you get it that first year, like I believe it's for 4 years. Yes. And they'll keep in touch with you in terms of like making sure that you're successful and that you're, still at the right school that you said you were going to be at. So there are some scholarships, big ones, that they don't require you to, apply every single year. But in general, most of them do want you to apply every year.
Could you also talk about how the funds are distributed for these scholarships?
Ooh, so I know, so the funds are coming from local people in Eugene, Springfield, okay? These are actual donors. Like these are people in our community, businesses, teachers, educators, people that are really invested in your education. And so the money is set by the donor. So the donor basically sets the standards of what the scholarship. So they say, I'm going to put in, I'm going to give $50,000 to the foundation, and I want to give, 5 scholarships of 1,000 for any student who's interested in like a diesel program, for example, right? Or a student who's graduate of Springfield High School or Thurston High School. Like they set those standards, and so every amount is different. Every scholarship is different because the donor is the one that sets, the criteria. One thing that you guys need to know is that we have a very generous community in Lane County. Like people are invested in your education. People want to give money, especially if you want to work locally here in Eugene. Like if you graduate and you want to stay here, one of the things that I've seen is that students end up getting a job through that employer. And sometimes they'll find out, oh, I got a scholarship through this employer, and now I'm working here. And so, so it's very, very, special because folks are really invested in making sure that they're providing the resources and funding through the foundation, by making sure that you have, options to fund your education.
Thank you. I do have one other question, but I want to just make sure any of our students don't have questions before I keep going. No? Okay. So my last question is, last week we had OSAC and they talked about the application process. And one of the things that they recommended to students going through the course catalog, because their matching process is not always accurate and their search engine isn't as accurate. And so really just going through each of those scholarships. And so I just wanted to make sure with the LCC Foundation scholarships, with the recommended ones that they put there, are there opportunities for students to go and see if there's other ones that maybe the system didn't pair them with, or do you guys feel really confident that that system recommends all the scholarships that they really would qualify for?
Yeah, so I think it depends on the criteria and how students answer those questions. Like some of the questions I was going to ask you is, when did you graduate? Where did you graduate from? What are you majoring in? What is your high school GPA? What is your community involvement? Has been in high school? Were you a student athlete? Are you a student of color, a minority student? Did you participate in, some of our summer leadership programs like Puertas Abiertas or, Rites of Passage, any of those? So they're looking at all that criteria to find keywords within a scholarship that basically has that as a criteria. Any student, is always welcome to look at our entire list of scholarships to see if there's anything that may, perk your attention. I will tell you, there's like hundreds of scholarships. So if you have that kind of time to look at every single one by one, that's totally fine. But it is why we have this kind of, initial questions to basically condense it using those keywords and how you answer the questions to say, here are the ones that you qualify for. And it's usually like, 10 plus or sometimes 20, depending on, how you've been connected to Lane. And if you've done any kind of activities with us, such as like, rites of passage or any other stuff. So.
Thank you so much. Any questions? Helena, you unmuted. Did you have a question?
No, I was just going to say thank you, Rosa Maria. This was a really good question and answer, and I really appreciate your time here.
Yeah, you're welcome. So go ahead, Jessica.
I was just gonna say that one thing that if you guys are looking for things over the break, Rosa Maria shared a lot of things. I think two things that making sure that you have done right away is getting your LCC application in. I know that looking at the names, I know many of you I've already worked with on that, making sure that you get your FAFSA done, and those questions are there, so working on those, and they are basically very similar to OSAC, so there's a lot of things that you could be doing over winter break to kind of help get yourself set up for this. So I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Rosa Maria.
No, one thing that because a lot of times students are confused of where to go to apply. That's something that I didn't cover. Usually we cover this in, kind of some of my visits that I go to, when I go to your schools. But from the homepage here, over here it says apply and enroll, apply now, or you can go right here where it says admissions, or you can go down here where it says admissions or apply today. Either of these will take you to our apply page. And all of you should be selecting under what is your goal at Lane. All of you should be selecting the first one, which is earn a degree or certificate or prepare to transfer to a four-year institution. And then all of you should be selecting new student. Again, going back to my conversation about my point around, if you received College Now credit or currently in College Now classes, we still are requiring you to apply like a regular student to Lane. Again, your L number is not going to change. It's going to be the same. So you'll want to select new student to Lane and then get started. As I said, the one thing you need to focus on is applying and then claiming your Lane email address. Those are the two things that are most pressing in terms of applying for the scholarship application. The rest of the steps that you see listed here, course placement, orientation, you'll get those done later. It's no rush to get them done now. But for the purposes of the application, completing this step and making sure you claim your Lane email address is the more pressing thing.
And one thing I will say is last year we had students that hadn't applied until the day of. They hadn't applied for LCC, and that was bad because there is with technology, sometimes it gets overwhelmed and, there's delays and things like that. And so please, we cannot say it enough to, get these things taken care of now. Apply, claim your L number so that you're alleviating that stress later on of, oh my gosh, I don't have my L number. And again, we're all here to help you. So thank you so much, Rosa Maria. This is great information. I always, every year I learn a little bit more and kind of almost like a little secret that I didn't know about. So I appreciate that. And I'm sure that you're going to be getting questions probably in your inbox about this.
Yeah, if you guys have questions, let me show you where to find us. You can go, we do have info sessions that we do 3 times a week. So if you want to, join any of those, you can sign up for any of those by going through this to the sign up button here. But if you just click on admissions here, this is to directly to our webpage, and you can go to contact us, and that will bring up our contact information. It will have our admissions email address, our phone number that you can call us or email us. If you guys want to email me directly, I'm the first one here on the staff. So this is my email. You can email me there. Rolina and Jessica both have my contact information as well. So, so if you can't find it, then let them know, and they should be able to give you my information as well. I will be here during the break, most of the break. So if you want to get in touch with us, we'll be around, with the exception of the 24th and 25th and the 31st. But we'll be here the rest of the time, 8 to 5, if any of you have any specific questions.
Great. That's awesome, because I will be on break, so they can email you. Now I know they're in good hands. I don't have to worry about them. Well, thank you once again.